Hi everyone, today I'm going to present this work called Individual Hermann School Breeding Strategies in a Changing World. Are they adaptive any longer? The evolution theory and natural selection are based on the concept of fitness, that is, the ability of each organism to contribute to subsequent generations with offspring. With this theory, also called survival of the fittest, it is explained that among organisms, there is a natural variation of adaptations, strategies, and traits on which natural selection will act. This theory is founded on the trade-off principle, which tries to explain how the organism is capable of allocating resources and energy. Thus, an increase in energy in one process may result in a decrease in another, for example, in reproduction and survival. Without resource restrictions, the population will increase exponentially. And all these process or trade-offs may be evident under demanding environmental conditions, like such as the increase in sea surface temperature, which is a local and global scale anomaly that creates a series of negative effects on organisms such as seabirds. If climate and oceanographic conditions are unfavorable, for example, when the sea surface temperature rises, there is a decline in primary productivity and the food availability for seabirds that is reflected in their survival and during their reproduction. And here nest the 95% of the global populations of Hermann gulls in an island called Rasa Island, which is located in the Midriff Islands region in the Gulf of California. This species has demonstrated strategies and adaptive advantage like this. However, it is unknown the effects of individual life history strategies on reproduction related to sea surface temperature local anomalies. There's a remarkable result that was the variation in clutch size of adults from one year to the next year, and that was related to food availability, indicating that this species is physiologically able of predict the food availability and consequently modifying the reproductive effort. And in this study, adult survival contributes more to population growth in anomalous years. Fecundity contributes to population growth in normal years. Adult mortality not increasing one years, and the longevity is a great advantage because permits to skip low food years and wait to breed during normal years. So the general aim of this study was to assess the effect of local positive anomalies on sea surface temperature in the number of eggs laid, survival chicks or fledglings, and the reproductive success and the longevity. The data collection are from fledglings banded and monitored later during 22 years of breeding seasons. In this study, we count females with more than 4 recaptures in normal years and 1 recapture in anomalous years. Longevity is the maximum registered age, and we use the number of eggs laid by female. And the fledglings are chick survival to 20 days. We use the average values of sea surface temperature anomaly using satellite data in the near to the island, and we got this timeline with data for years with positive anomalies and normal years of sea surface temperature. Here we define the orange dots as anomalous years and the blue dots are normal years. And according to female performance, we define two types of reproductive strategies. A are females who laid eggs and hatched chicks both in normal and anomalous years. And B is the females who didn't lay eggs in anomalous years, or if they did, didn't hatch chicks. We use the Mann-Whitney U test for the difference in between variables. We use the generalized linear mix model for the estimation of reproductive variables. And finally, the linear regression to explain the effect of the reproductive strategies. In this tree graph is a summary, and on average, the three reproductive variables were lower in anomalous years. Here, uh, about eggs, about survival fledglings, and the reproductive success. With this result, we show that eggs and fledglings production are minor during unfavorable years. According to the analysis by reproductive strategy, it was found that exists the significant difference. Strategy B was more frequent compared to strategy A. This strategy, the B, represents the typical reproductive alternative generally found in seabirds, and according to its characteristics, represent the conservative females. And on the other hand, in these terms, we could say that the strategy A are both females. And here I show the resultant models to estimate some data not obtained in the field, but we just use the significative models that was this one and this one. We did this graph that shows a positive significant relationship for the total number of eggs laid and the female longevity. Both females that are these produce fewer eggs in their life because they live less. And we show here the conservative ones, and here when the longer they live, the greater the number of reproductive events. And then here we can see the average of the total number of eggs produced in the life of the female by the reproductive strategy. Females of strategy B have more eggs than strategy A and also live significantly longer than those of strategy A. This leads us to assume that increased reproductive effort affects longevity. And something similar happens with the surviving chicks per female. However, A females vary more in longevity. And some authors mentions that within a population, there are individuals who constantly overcome others in reproductive success due to their physiologically and behavioral characteristics, and this gives them an advantage, even under the same environmental conditions and in the same reproductive season. There is not a very clear pattern of female behavior according to the number of fledglings. That's why we propose in the future to add more variables to these models. No significant difference were found in the total number of chicks between strategy A and B, and reproductive production of fledglings between groups is similar. In this sense, it should be taken into account that adult mortality varies substantially within and between species. due to various factors such as genetic, phenotypic factors. So in conclusion, the strategy B lays 6 more eggs than strategy A, and there are significant differences between eggs and strategies. The strategy B produced 2 more chicks, but this is not a significant difference, and they live 4 more years. So here we show that there is not an advantage between bold and conservative females in trade-off terms. And also the conservative strategy is more common. Maybe in the future the bold strategy could be favorable under the conditions of the present century, with an increase in the occurrence of years with a positive anomaly in sea surface temperature and less food availability. For now, we see that the population presents both strategies and they are adaptive and are coexisting on the island. This is favorable for population growth in the face of an increased frequent environmental pressure. So in conclusion, there are an inverse relationship of the local sea surface temperature in the number of eggs, chicks, and reproductive subsist in the current nesting year. Both females have lower longevity due to the increased reproductive effort during anomalous years. Bold strategy is the less frequent. It can be presented progressively as a new alternative for the population. Conservative strategy is more frequent. Less reproductive effort in anomalous years allows greater adult longevity, and the reproductive strategies coexist. The parental age, the sea surface temperature, and the strategies are important parameters to explain and predict variation in the reproduction of Hermann's gull. It is the basis for making projections of which strategy is more effective. If the frequency and severity of sea surface temperature anomalies increase, and this study is an important contribution. It shows the adaptive and evolutionary process that are taking place in this species. Thank you.